Hello, my name is Brandon Meek. It is October 22nd, 2015, and my oral presentation is on Lawless and Bad Old Days from the Apple Shop site. This presentation reviews two individual sources that I viewed in hopes of becoming more educated on Appalachian issues. The movie I watched this week was Lawless, 2012. The video I watched this week was Bad Old Days, 2006, on Apple Shop. Lawless is based on a true story of the Franklin County Moonshine Conspiracy. It follows three brothers, Forrest, Howard, and Jack Bondurant, and their bootlegging business. The movie portrays the Bondurant brothers as heroes. They are anti-establishment because the authorities around them are not trustworthy. Forrest will not pay corrupt law enforcement for his hard work and gets other moonshiners to rebel against the established corrupt law enforcement. Jack, who is the youngest of the group, has a crush on the preacher's daughter, but shows up to church after drinking. This makes the community see him as a menace, but charms the daughter. This also shows Forrest as the responsible brother, and Jack as one of the least responsible brothers, in the fact that he's kind of the clown / menace of the group. Menacing to society, clown of the brothers. Howard misses an important business meeting because he again has the flaw of being a clown, in the fact that he would rather stay drinking with friends than go to the important meeting that Forrest arranges. And Forrest almost gets killed. He gets his throat physically slit, but somehow he survives, and the woman at his restaurant actually has something worse happen to her, and she also survives. It turns out that the men that double-crossed them during the business deal were working for the corrupt official. Eventually, a big shootout occurs with the corrupt official where Forrest gets shot multiple times and survives again, and the death of the official and his men at the hands of Jack and Howard. The end of the movie shows a time lapse, and all of the brothers are older and married. Forrest, the immortal Forrest, at the end gets drunk and falls into the lake. Pneumonia is what ends up killing him in the end. The hillbilly types portrayed in this movie are vast. The brothers themselves are backwoods, and they do what they can to get by. This does not mean, however, that they are unintelligent by any standard. These are some of the most intelligent characters portrayed. They just see ways around laws and established views. They are also free from a corrupt government. Free is a big hillbilly attribute. They refuse to be part of the corrupt establishment, and this makes them heroes than in that many hillbilly movies depict. They are also clowns in the way that many of their actions come across as foolhardy or silly, but they are also part of their character traits. When we see the foolhardy and the silly as terrible or awful, but we realize that all of us have these characters, and it does mirror who we truly are. And speaking on the mirror concept, the corrupt official was portrayed as a monster. The movie portrays him as this absolute power-hungry madman who doesn't get what he wants, so he declares vengeance on the brothers and is the one thorn in their side throughout the entire movie. This movie portrays hillbillies as links to the past also, because it is inspired by true events, and if we are around anyone or related to anyone from this era, we can recognize several key mannerisms and personality traits. I have a lot of family that grew up in Sneedville, Tennessee, and they are like this. They're still anti-establishment based people, and I have a little bit of my mindset from them too. The character Maggie, who is the woman at the who becomes a waitress, is the empowered woman through the movie. She is probably the strongest character in the entire movie because she deals with her pain herself and doesn't have any support and truly gets through it by herself and on her own. This particular movie shows Appalachian people that as people that will do whatever it takes to survive and do so without outside help or the use of outside forces. The hillbilly in this movie refuses to be corrupt. I mean, yes, they do illegal activities, which is moonshining, but their own personal moral compass shows them that the rule and the authorities that the rule itself is wrong and that the authorities are wrong and that their actions are noble even if it is for personal gain. To go against a societal norm because you know it's not going to work for you and your family is a trademark of the anti-establishment hero, which can also make one portrayed as a menace. The Apple Shop video I watched was titled Bad Old Days. It is about a politician that used to be a miner in Letcher County, Kentucky. This county was known for corrupt politicians, but has changed with Carroll Smith. He fights against the mining companies and other companies that have always bought their positions in the past. The companies strip land without worrying about property rights and cashed out in many cases. Carroll wants the government to be local and not run by these corrupt sources. He basically doesn't want the government to be paid for. He wants to run it by the people and for the people, according to the video. Companies even covered cameras to the election booth with trash bags so they could tamper with the data and get Carroll out of office, and the video did show that. This video shows the anti-establishment figure as the hero the area needs. He is a simple man who does the things that some outsiders would consider backwoods. Video starts with the slaughter and shaving of a pig, and for some reason this makes perfect sense with the video symbolistically. The pig could be the end of corrupt politicians and fat cats in this county because he wanted to end them, or it could mean that Carroll will be beaten by the politicians, or in my opinion it could mean that Carroll becomes what he hated and becomes one of the politicians that he hated so much. I know that by looking up Letcher County and Carroll Smith, I saw many accusations about him. But the video said in the video, it said the newspapers were against Carroll too, that they had been bought out by the corporations, and that he was struggling to go against them because everybody believes what a newspaper says about you. But is he the hero or is he the menace? It's hard to tell. The reason I wonder that is because it is a political video, and my personal beliefs feel like it only shows one side of a situation. The picture it paints of Appalachia is similar to the picture that Lawless painted. It says that hillbillies do not trust the establishment. For a variety of reasons they don't, but they want to maintain their personal freedom as much as possible. The companies involved represent the establishment to many of these people. The problem is people stop trusting Carroll, the public official in the bad days, because he becomes establishment. He becomes the politician and takes on that role for himself. My favorite movie of the two was Lawless. I thought it was brilliantly done. It portrayed the characters as altruistic and hero-like while still conveying that they were human. Forrest was an exception until he died of pneumonia, again kind of showing him as the clown or fool, because after being shot and having his throat slit, he dies of getting drunk and falling in a lake. But it didn't hurt that Gary Oldman did a perfect cameo in this movie. He contributed greatly to the progression and even gave an enigmatic hillbilly-ish role, or a hillbilly desire to be that mysterious gangster of the time. I usually appreciate the documentary movie better, but Lawless conveyed all the negative images of the time with a hope and gave the viewer obvious heroes and villains to root for. It made more sense as a collaborative film and didn't leave me with as many questions as the other film left me with. I think it represents the idea of Appalachia better. I could not really process the true meaning behind the second movie. The editing made me think that Carol was a hero to begin with, and then made me feel like he might not have been the hero, that he might have been the villain. And I actually feel like the actors in Lawless were more honest and employed naturalism better than the people in this video. I did not know who to trust in the video. I have no idea as to what Carol's persona really is. It just showed him as this humble miner, and then he was the politician, and then he was defending himself against corrupt corporations. I think both films had positive moments, and I understand that in Lawless everybody was a professional actor. I mean, we believe what they portray. The director was professional. In the bad old days, the director was not even mentioned. I may just be accustomed to viewing a movie as how they want me to view it, so it gave me the desired images. It gave me the desired feelings that it was supposed to, while Bad Old Days gave me this feeling of distrust for everyone involved, and for good and bad reasons. But I noticed when I started to distrust Carol was when I heard him speak as a politician. And that led me into some of my own character flaws or character traits that shows that I have Appalachian heritage. As soon as I seen him as the politician, I quit trusting him, meaning that I have that anti-establishment side in me, and I even use the words based on a true story to describe Lawless, because I assume that it means loosely based. This comes from the assumption that true events don't make for compelling views on the big screen. I know that Hollywood would rather paint a pretty picture than tell all the facts if it will put people in movie seats and make for a better story, and I would do the same thing. So, the documentary versus Lawless, I feel like the documentary might be an actual truer depiction, but the idea of Lawless is a better idea of what we perceive as Appalachia and what we perceive as the hillbilly than perhaps the actual Appalachian film. And that bothers me in some ways, but I know that I get my anti-establishment views honestly through my Appalachian heritage, and that brings me to question it. But learning that both the films and the video show that there is a lack of trust of any outside force in Appalachia, which shows why some people are viewed as rogues, or why they were more likely to become moonshiners, and why they were more likely to become not corrupt, but be against the corrupt politicians and be against these companies that are taking their land. It gave me a lot of insight into trust and what trust should be. So if I don't get anything else out of both movies, it's that trust issues are a big part of Appalachian culture. And thank you, and I hope that gives some clarity, but that is the biggest concept that I've got out of this, and thank you, and have a nice day.